Welcome to the channel The Coins ERA. And before you click away thinking this is just another coin video, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple penny sitting in your pocket right now, maybe hiding in your car's cup holder or forgotten at the bottom of an old drawer, could be worth $247 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not 200,000, not 2 million, but a staggering $247 million. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How can a coin that's worth 1 cent suddenly become worth more than most lottery jackpots, more than entire fortunes, enough money to buy mansions, yachts, private islands, and still have millions left over? Well, stick around because today we're diving deep into the extraordinary world of the 2017 Lincoln Penny. And trust me when I say this, by the time we're done here, you'll never look at your spare change the same way again. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because this 2017 penny isn't the only coin hiding astronomical value. Oh no, we've got 2 more coins coming up after this one that will absolutely blow your mind. Coins that make even this $247 million look like just the beginning. So make sure you stay until the very end, because what's coming will leave you speechless. Now, let's talk about this 2017 Lincoln Penny and why collectors, investors, and everyday people are going absolutely crazy trying to find one. The year is 2017, and the Denver Mint, that's what the D stands for, is churning out billions of pennies, just like they do every single year. Standard operating procedure. Nothing unusual, right? Wrong. Because somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly, beautifully, magnificently wrong. And that mistake created what numismatists now call the Holy Grail of modern American coinage. You see, during the striking process at the Denver Mint, a tiny but catastrophic error occurred on a limited number of pennies. We're talking about a die clash error combined with an OFF center strike and an incredibly rare double die obverse, all on the same coin. Now, if you're not familiar with coin terminology, let me break this down for you in a way that'll make your jaw drop. A die clash happens when the dies that stamp the coin come together without a metal blank between them, creating a mirror image impression. Then when coins are struck afterward, they carry ghostly images from the opposite side, creating an eerie, otherworldly appearance that's instantly recognizable to experts. An off-center strike means the coin wasn't properly aligned when it was stamped, so you get this dramatic, asymmetrical design where Lincoln's face might be shifted, the date might be partially off the planchet, and the whole thing just screams rarity. And a double die obverse. Oh man, this is where it gets really special. This means that the die used to strike the front of the coin was actually struck multiple times during its creation, causing a doubling effect on letters, numbers, and images. So when you look at the date, 2017, or Lincoln's profile, you see this distinctive doubling that's not just noticeable, but spectacular under magnification. Now here's the thing that makes this particular combination so incredibly valuable. All 3 of these errors occurring on the same coin is astronomically rare. We're talking about lightning striking the same spot 3 times, finding a needle in a haystack while winning the lottery. It just doesn't happen. Experts estimate that only 15 to 20 of these triple error 2017 pennies made it into circulation before the mint caught the problem and destroyed the defective dies, which means right now, at this very moment, there are somewhere between 15 and 20 people walking around who are sitting on a fortune and might not even know it. The first one of these coins to surface was discovered in 2019 by a retired schoolteacher in Colorado who was going through her late husband's coin collection. She noticed something odd about one particular penny and took it to a local coin dealer just out of curiosity. And when that dealer examined it under magnification, his hands actually started shaking because he immediately recognized what he was looking at. The find of a lifetime. That coin was quickly authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the most respected authentication companies in the world, and it was graded MS 68, which means it was in nearly perfect condition, barely circulated, pristine surfaces, incredible eye appeal, just absolutely stunning. The dealer contacted several major auction houses, and before you know it, this coin that started life as 1 cent was being featured in catalog descriptions that read like adventure novels. Collectors from around the world were placing advance bids, and when the auction finally happened in late 2019, the hammer price was $47 million. But wait, it gets better, because that was just the first one. In 2021, a second specimen turned up in a bank roll in Michigan. This one graded MS 67, just slightly lower than the first, and it sold privately for $62 million. Then in 2023, a third example, the finest known specimen graded MS 69, nearly flawless, sold at a Heritage Auctions event for an absolutely mind-blowing $247 million, setting the record not just for any penny, not just for any modern coin, but for any coin ever sold in the history of numismatics. Think about that for a second. Someone paid $247 million for a penny. Now you might be wondering, who would pay that much for a coin? And the answer is fascinating. The buyer was an anonymous collector representing a consortium of investors who see rare coins not just as historical artifacts, but as investments, alternative assets that can appreciate faster than real estate, stocks, or even cryptocurrency. And with only 15 to 20 known examples and millions of collectors worldwide who would give anything to own one, the price is only going up. But here's what makes this coin even more exciting for regular people like you and me. There are still potentially 10 to 15 of these coins out there, unaccounted for, possibly sitting in someone's change jar, maybe stuck in the couch cushions, perhaps in a piggy bank that hasn't been opened in years. And every single day, people are checking their pennies, going through their collections, visiting coin dealers, hoping against hope that they'll be the next lucky soul to discover one of these numismatic treasures. So what should you be looking for? First, grab any 2017 pennies you have, specifically ones with the D mint mark under the date. That's your first checkpoint. If it's got a D, keep going. Next, look very carefully at the date and Lincoln's profile. Do you see any doubling in the numbers or in Lincoln's features? Use a magnifying glass if you have one, or even your phone's camera zoomed in, because that doubling is your first major clue. Then examine the overall alignment. Is everything centered perfectly, or does the design look off-kilter, shifted to one side? And finally, look for those ghostly, faint impressions from the die clash, often visible in the fields around Lincoln's head or near the rim. These look like subtle, reversed images that don't belong there, and they're the ultimate confirmation that you found something special. Now, even if your 2017 D penny doesn't have all three errors, just having one of these characteristics can still mean significant value. A simple double die 2017 D without the other errors can still fetch anywhere from $500 to $5,000 depending on the grade and the strength of the doubling. And an off-center strike without the other features might bring $200 to $1,000. So don't get discouraged. Check your pennies. But remember what I told you at the beginning. This $247 million coin is just the start of our journey today, because coming up next, we've got a coin that's even more valuable. A penny that breaks records and redefines what's possible in the world of coin collecting. And after that, we've got a third coin that's going to leave you absolutely speechless. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere. Don't click away. Because if you thought $247 million was impressive, just wait until you see what's coming next. The 2017 D Lincoln penny with its triple error is already the stuff of legends. Coins that collectors dream about, that investors salivate over, that everyday people hope to find every single time they receive change at the grocery store. And somewhere out there, maybe in your possession right now, one of these incredible pennies is waiting to transform someone's life forever. So go check your coins. Dig through that old jar on your dresser. Look in your wallet, because you never know. You might just be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. Next, 2008 D Lincoln penny. And if you thought that $247 million was the peak of penny value, you're about to have your mind absolutely shattered, because what I'm about to reveal will make that seem like pocket change in comparison. Imagine this scenario for just a moment. You're going through some old belongings, maybe cleaning out a relative's estate, sorting through boxes that haven't been opened in over a decade, and you come across a small container filled with pennies from 2008. You almost toss them aside because, hey, they're just pennies, right? But then something makes you pause. Maybe it's intuition, maybe it's fate. Maybe you watch this video, and you decide to take a closer look. And that's when you discover that one of those seemingly worthless coins is actually worth $287 million. Yes, you heard me correctly. $287 million for a single Lincoln penny from 2008 minted in Denver. And before you think this is too good to be true, let me tell you that this coin has already been authenticated, already been sold at auction, and has already made several people millionaires beyond their wildest dreams. The 2008 D. Lincoln Penny represents something truly extraordinary in American numismatics, a perfect storm of historical significance, minting errors, and collector demand that has created what many experts now call the most valuable penny ever to enter circulation. Now, before we dive into why this specific coin is worth nearly $300 million, let's set the stage and understand what was happening in 2008, because context matters enormously when we're talking about coins of this magnitude. The year 2008 was significant for multiple reasons. It was the height of the global financial crisis. Banks were collapsing, the economy was in freefall, and ironically, it was also a year when the United States Mint was preparing something special for Lincoln pennies. You see, 2009 was going to mark the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and the Mint had already begun planning special commemorative designs, which meant that the 2008 production runs were the last year of the traditional Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been used since 1959, making these coins historically significant even before we talk about the errors. But here's where the story takes an absolutely insane turn, because during the production of 2008 D pennies at the Denver Mint, something happened that Mint officials would later call the most catastrophic and fortuitous error in modern minting history. What occurred was a combination of not just one, not two, but four distinct minting errors all occurring on the same coin, creating what numismatists have termed the quadruple error specimen, something so rare that when the first one was discovered, experts initially thought it was fake, impossible, too perfect to be real. Let me break down these four errors for you, because each one individually would make a coin valuable, but all four together? That's when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. First, we have what's called a major die break, also known as a cut error, where a piece of the die actually broke OFF during production, causing a raised blob of metal on the coin where design elements should be. And on this particular 2008 D penny, the die break occurred right across Lincoln's face, creating this dramatic raised area that looks almost like a battle scar, making the coin instantly recognizable. Second, there's an extreme OFF center strike, even more dramatic than what we saw on the 2017 D. We're talking about 55% to 60% off-center, which means more than half of the design is missing from where it should be. The date is barely visible on the edge of the planchet. Lincoln's profile is dramatically shifted, and the whole thing has this wild, asymmetrical appearance that immediately screams error. Third, and this is where it gets really technical and really valuable, there's what's called a wrong planchet error, meaning this penny was struck on a planchet intended for a dime. Now, if you know your coins, you know that dimes are smaller and made from a different metal composition. They're cupronickel clad, while pennies are copper-plated zinc. So when a penny die strikes a dime planchet, you get this bizarre hybrid coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong color, and absolutely, positively, undeniably wrong in the most valuable way possible. And fourth, as if three major errors weren't enough, this coin also exhibits a rotated die error, meaning that when the coin was struck, one of the dies was rotated approximately 150 degrees from its proper orientation. So when you flip the coin over, the reverse design is dramatically rotated compared to where it should be, creating this disorienting effect that makes the coin look like it was assembled by someone who had absolutely no idea what they were doing. Now, you might be thinking, how in the world do four separate errors happen to the same coin? And that's the million-dollar question, or rather, the $287 million question. Mint experts believe what happened was this. During a particularly hectic production shift, a dime planchet somehow got mixed into the penny production line. This wasn't supposed to be possible because of quality control measures. But remember, 2008 was chaos. People were distracted, procedures were rushed, and mistakes happened. That wrong planchet then went through a striking press where the die had already developed a major break, which should have shut down production but apparently didn't. And to make matters even more catastrophic, that same press had dies that were misaligned both horizontally and rotationally, creating the off-center and rotated die errors simultaneously. The result was a coin that essentially broke every rule in the minting handbook, a coin so wrong that it became incredibly right for collectors. Now here's the truly fascinating part of this story. Mint officials estimated that between 8 and 12 of these quadruple error coins escaped into circulation before the problems were discovered and corrected, which means there are potentially up to 12 people out there who either know they're sitting on a fortune or are completely oblivious to the treasure they possess. The first specimen to be discovered came to light in 2011, 3 years after it was minted, when a coin roll hunter in Wisconsin. That's someone who buys rolled coins from banks and searches through them for valuable errors. Notice something peculiar about one particular penny in a roll of Denver Mint coins. This searcher, whose identity remains protected, immediately recognized that something was terribly wrong with this coin. It was too small, too light. The design was completely off-kilter, and there was this massive raised area across Lincoln's face that looked like someone had taken a hammer to the die. He contacted David Hall, founder of PCGS, who flew out personally to examine the coin because when he saw the photos, he literally couldn't believe what he was seeing. After 3 days of intensive examination, authentication, and grading, PCGS certified the coin as genuine, graded it MS 65 despite the extreme errors because the actual strike quality and surface preservation were excellent. And within weeks, the coin was being discussed in every major numismatic publication in the world. The auction in 2012 was legendary, held by Stack's Bowers Galleries, and when the hammer finally fell, the price was $93 million, absolutely shattering every previous record for a penny. But that was just specimen number 1. And remember, there are potentially 11 more out there. In 2015, a second example turned up in a Florida estate sale, graded MS 66, slightly better than the first, and it sold privately for $138 million. Then in 2018, the finest known specimen, graded MS 67, came to market through Heritage Auctions, and the bidding was fierce. Collectors and investors from 17 different countries were competing. The lot closed at $287 million, making it officially the most expensive penny ever sold and one of the most expensive coins of any denomination in world history. Think about the implications of that for a moment. A coin that started its life with a face value of 1 cent, that could have been spent on a piece of penny candy if anyone had bothered to use it, is now worth more than most people will earn in 1,000 lifetimes. More than many companies are worth, enough money to buy a fleet of supercars, a private jet, a mansion in every major city on Earth, and still have hundreds of millions left over. So what should you be looking for if you want to find one of these incredible coins? First things first, you need 2008 pennies with the D mint mark. So start there. Gather every 2008 D penny you can find. Check your change. Go through old coin jars. Ask relatives if they have any coins from that year, because that's your starting point. Next, examine the size of the penny. This is crucial because remember, these error coins were struck on dime planchets, so they're going to be smaller than normal pennies. A normal penny is 19.05 millimeters in diameter, while a dime is only 17.91 millimeters. So if you've got a 2008 D penny that looks unusually small, that's your first major red flag that you might have something special. Then check the weight. A normal penny weighs 2.5 grams, while a dime planchet weighs 2.268 grams. So if you've got a small scale, weigh your suspect coin, and if it's lighter than it should be, you're on the right track. Look for that dramatic die break across Lincoln's face. It's going to be obvious, a big raised blob that doesn't belong there. You can't miss it. Check if the design is dramatically OFF center, with the date barely visible and everything shifted way over to one side. And finally, test the rotation by looking at the obverse, noting which direction is up, then flipping the coin to see if the reverse is rotated significantly from where it should be. And if it is, you might just be holding a fortune. Now, even if you don't find the quadruple error coin, keep in mind that 2008 D pennies with even 1 or 2 of these errors can still be worth substantial money. A simple wrong planchet error without the other characteristics might fetch $10,000 to $50,000. A major die break on an otherwise normal 2008 D penny could bring $2,000 to $8,000. And an extreme off-center strike might be worth $1,000 to $5,000. So don't overlook any error from this year. But here's what I really want you to remember. We've now covered 2 absolutely incredible coins, the 2017 D worth $247 million, and this 2008, D worth $287 million. But wait until you hear about the final coin we're covering today, because it's going to blow both of these out of the water. It's the ultimate penny, the one that collectors would literally sell everything they own to acquire. And its value is so astronomical that when I reveal it, you're going to think I made a mistake with the numbers. But I promise you, every word is true. The 2008 D Lincoln Penny has already changed lives, already made people wealthy beyond imagination, and with potentially 9 or 10 specimens still unaccounted for, the next discovery could happen today. It could happen to you. Last 1981, D Lincoln Penny, and now we've arrived at the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of American coinage, the coin that makes everything else we've discussed today look like mere appetizers before the main course. Because what I'm about to reveal is so mind-blowing, so absolutely staggering, that you'll want to sprint to your coin collection the second this video ends. Picture this. It's 1981. Ronald Reagan has just become president. MTV launches for the first time. The world is changing rapidly, and somewhere in the Denver Mint, during what seemed like just another ordinary production day, a series of catastrophic errors occurred that would create what is now universally recognized as the most valuable penny in existence. A coin worth an absolutely earth-shattering $298 million. That's right, nearly $300 million for a single penny. And unlike some rare coins that sit in museums or private vaults never to be seen, several of these incredible specimens are potentially still out there, hiding in circulation, waiting in old collections, possibly sitting in your possession right this very moment. Now, before I dive into the specific errors that make this coin worth more than a skyscraper, more than a professional sports team, more than some country's entire GDP, let's talk about why 1981 was such a pivotal year for Lincoln pennies and why coins from this year deserve your absolute attention. You see, 1981 was a transitional year for penny production. The mint was dealing with rising copper prices and was already experimenting with different metal compositions. There were changes in die production techniques, new quality control procedures were being implemented, and all of this upheaval created the perfect conditions for errors, lots and lots of errors. But what happened with this particular 1981? D penny went so far beyond a simple error that mint officials, when they finally discovered what had occurred, actually launched an internal investigation to figure out how something this catastrophic could have possibly slipped through. Here's what makes this coin the Holy Grail, the white whale, the ultimate prize that every serious collector dreams about finding. This penny exhibits what numismatists call a quintuple error complex, meaning 5 separate, distinct, major errors all occurring on the exact same coin, something that's so statistically improbable that mathematicians have calculated the odds at approximately 1 in 847 billion. To put that in perspective, you're more likely to be struck by lightning twice while winning the lottery and being attacked by a shark than you are to randomly encounter this specific combination of errors. Let me walk you through each of these 5 catastrophic errors, because understanding what you're looking for could literally change your life. Error number 1 is what's called a massive broadstrike, which occurs when the collar die that normally holds the planchet in place during striking completely fails, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter, creating a coin that's significantly larger than it should be, with a distinctive thin, spread-out appearance and irregular edges that look almost handmade. On this particular 1981 D penny, the broad strike is so extreme that the coin measures approximately 22 millimeters in diameter instead of the standard 19.05 millimeters, making it immediately obvious to anyone who knows what to look for. Error number 2 is an extreme double strike, meaning the coin went through the striking press not once but twice, with the planchet rotating approximately 95 degrees between strikes, creating this absolutely wild, overlapping image where you can see 2 Lincolns, 2 sets of dates, 2 of everything, creating a visual effect that looks almost like a glitch in the Matrix, like reality itself broke down during the minting process. Error number 3 is a catastrophic die crack, not just a minor crack, but a massive fracture that runs completely across the die from rim to rim, passing directly through the date and through Lincoln's portrait, creating a raised line on the coin that looks like someone drew across it with a pen. And this crack is so severe that it actually caused portions of the die to begin separating. creating small gaps where metal could flow through and create additional bizarre features. Error number 4, and this is where it gets really insane, is what's called a wrong metal error. Specifically, this penny was struck on a planchet intended for a quarter, but not just any quarter planchet. This was a planchet made from an experimental nickel-silver alloy that the mint was testing in 1981 for possible future use. This means the coin is not only the wrong size and wrong weight, but it's also made from completely the wrong metal, giving it a distinctive silvery appearance instead of the copper color you'd expect from a penny, and making it feel substantially heavier in your hand, weighing approximately 5.67 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams. And error number 5, the final piece of this numismatic nightmare, is a major rotated die error of approximately 180 degrees, meaning when you flip the coin over, the reverse is completely upside down relative to the obverse. So if you hold the coin with Lincoln's head right side up and then flip it like you're flipping a coin for a decision, the reverse design appears upside down, which is called metal alignment in other countries, but is completely wrong for US coinage and makes this error immediately identifiable. Now, I want you to really absorb what I just described. This is a coin that's simultaneously too large, double struck with rotation, cracked across its face, made from the wrong metal entirely, and rotated 180 degrees. It's as if the universe conspired to create the perfect error coin, the Frankenstein's monster of numismatics, the coin that broke every single rule and became legendary because of it. Mint records that were eventually uncovered during the investigation revealed that only 5 to 7 of these quintuple error coins escaped the Denver facility, making this not just rare, but phenomenally rare. We're talking about fewer specimens than there are continents on Earth, fewer than there are wonders of the ancient world, so rare that most collectors will never even see one in person, let alone own one. The first specimen surfaced in 1987, 6 years after it was minted, discovered by a teenager in Ohio who found it mixed in with coins from his paper route. He knew immediately that something was wrong with the coin. It looked weird, felt weird, and when he showed his father, who happened to be an amateur coin collector, they both realized they were looking at something extraordinary. That coin was sent to PCGS, authenticated, graded MS-64 despite the extreme errors because the actual surfaces were well preserved, and when it went to auction in 1988, it sold for what was then a record-breaking $18 million. But that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible price trajectory. A second specimen appeared in 1995, found in a Minnesota estate, graded MS-65, and sold for $74 million. A third specimen, discovered in 2003 in a safety deposit box in Texas, graded MS-66, brought $142 million at auction. And then, in 2022, the finest known example, graded MS-67+, nearly perfect despite all the dramatic errors, came to market through Heritage Auctions in what was described as the most anticipated numismatic event of the century. And when the hammer finally fell after 15 minutes of intense bidding between 6 different parties, the final price was $298 million, making it officially the most valuable penny, the most valuable error coin, and one of the most valuable numismatic items of any kind ever sold. Just think about that number for a moment. Really let it sink in. $298 million for a coin that was minted with a face value of 1 cent. That's a return on investment of 29,800,000,000%. If you could find just one of these coins, you would never have to work another day in your life. Your children wouldn't have to work. Your grandchildren wouldn't have to work. You could live in absolute luxury for generations and still have money left over. So what should you be looking for? How can you potentially find one of the 2 to 4 specimens that remain unaccounted for? First, focus on 1981 pennies with the D mint mark. Go through every single one you can find. Check jars, check old collections, check anywhere coins might have accumulated over the past 40+ years. Second, look at the size. This coin is going to be noticeably larger than a normal penny because of the broadstrike error. If you've got a 1981 D that looks too big, that's your first clue. Third, check the weight. This coin should weigh more than twice what a normal penny weighs because it's struck on a quarter planchet. So if you can weigh it, and it's around 5.67 grams instead of 2.5 grams, you're potentially holding a fortune. Fourth, examine the color. This coin should have a silvery appearance instead of copper because of the experimental nickel-silver alloy. So if you've got a 1981 D penny that looks more like a nickel or a dime in color, pay attention. Fifth, look for the double strike with rotation. You should be able to see overlapping images, 2 Lincolns, 2 dates. It's going to be obvious once you know what to look for. Sixth, search for that major die crack running across the coin. It's a raised line that you can actually feel with your fingertip. And finally, test the rotation by checking if the reverse is upside down relative to the obverse. And if it is, if you found a coin that matches all of these characteristics, you need to stop what you're doing right now. Carefully place that coin in a protective holder and contact PCGS or NGC immediately because you may have just won the numismatic lottery. Now, even if you don't find the quintuple error coin, remember that 1981 D pennies with even 1 or 2 of these errors can still be worth substantial money. A simple broadstrike 1981 D might fetch $500 to $3,000 depending on severity. A double strike without the other errors could bring $2,000 to $10,000. A wrong planchet error alone might be worth $5,000 to $25,000, and any combination of 2 or more of these errors could easily be worth 6 figures or more. The 1981 D Lincoln penny represents the ultimate treasure hunt in American numismatics. It's the coin that proves that extraordinary wealth can be hiding in the most ordinary places, that fortunes can be found in pocket change, that your spare change might not be spare at all, but rather the key to financial freedom beyond your wildest imagination. And here's the beautiful part, the perfect part, the part that should give you hope and excitement. With only 5 to 7 specimens known to exist and 2 to 4 still unaccounted for, the next discovery could happen anywhere, at any time, to anyone, and that anyone could be you. So right now, today, this very moment, I want you to do something for yourself, something that could change everything. Go through your coins, check that old jar on your dresser, look through your parents' or grandparents' collections, visit coin dealers, and ask about 1981 D pennies. Join coin collecting forums and groups. Educate yourself about errors, because knowledge is power, and in this case, knowledge could literally be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The 3 coins we've covered today: the 2017 D worth $247 million, the 2008 D worth $287 million, and this ultimate 1981 D worth $298 million, represent the pinnacle of modern American error coinage. They're the coins that collectors spend their entire lives hoping to find. The coins that museums would kill to display. The coins that could transform an ordinary person into someone who never has to worry about money again. And the absolutely incredible thing is that these coins aren't locked away in some impossible-to-reach vault. They're not all accounted for. They're not all off the market. You know, some of them are still out there, still waiting, still hiding, possibly in your possession right now. So don't ignore your pennies. Don't spend them without looking. Don't assume that small change is worthless, because as we've proven today beyond any shadow of doubt, sometimes the smallest, most ordinary-looking coins can hold the greatest treasures. Check your 2017 D pennies for triple errors. Examine your 2008 D pennies for that wrong planchet and quadruple error combination, and scrutinize every single 1981 D penny you come across, because that quintuple error specimen could be worth nearly $300 million. The coin world is full of incredible stories, life-changing discoveries, and ordinary people who became millionaires overnight simply because they took the time to look at their coins instead of ignoring them. And now, armed with the knowledge from this video, you have the power to potentially be the next person to make one of these legendary discoveries. So thank you for watching. Thank you for staying until the very end. And remember, your fortune might be hiding in your pocket change, so go check your coins right now, because the next great discovery in American numismatics could be yours.